Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of Intro to Political Theory. I hope your first week of classes went well. So this week we're actually going to start to get into some of the material. This is going to be a short video today because we didn't have a reading last week and we didn't have a discussion for me to sort of expound upon, but I just want to make a few announcements and talk a little bit about what we're going to be reading this week. So first thing to say is I have posted a group assignment for you guys to, we'll actually have our first discussion outside of the intro tomorrow. So I posted on Canvas. If you go to the Files tab and under that there's a group assignment folder, go in there and you'll see Group 1 assignments. And there are 5 groups, and yeah, and then that will change sort of probably around the middle of the semester. I'll assign you guys different groups, but when I do that, I'll let you know. So the way the discussion will work is that I will post the question. It'll post tomorrow at noon. And then if you remember from the syllabus, you'll have 24 hours to respond to my prompt. And then you'll have until Sunday at 5 to respond to one of your classmates. Now, when you respond tomorrow, you'll have to respond before seeing what your other classmates have posted, because in the past people have, copied other people's work and things like that. So yeah, so that's essentially how it will work. Look on the discussion board for me. I'll be posting comments on what you're saying, maybe asking some questions, things like that. But yeah, that's essentially how it will work for the rest of the semester. But the only thing will be probably in the middle of the semester, I'll change the groups. And yeah, that's basically it for the discussion. Announcements. I thought you guys did a great job on the intros. I really appreciate you guys. Those of you who are brave enough and have the technology to do the videos, I think it makes a big difference in the class when we sort of have an idea of what the other person looks like and where they're coming from and all that sort of stuff. It kind of makes it a little more personal in this online world. So yeah, thanks for that. That was a good job. I really enjoyed listening to and reading all of your intros. So okay, this week we're going into Sparta, right? So the reading from this week is from Plutarch's Parallel Lives. And Plutarch was a Greek, but he was born during the Roman Empire, and he later became a Roman citizen. So he was born, way after Lycurgus, right? But he was a historian, right? He was a Greek historian, and he wrote this very famous, piece of history. Much that we know about. A lot that we know of the ancient world actually comes from, especially from famous men, comes from Plutarch's Parallel Lives, or sometimes it's just called Plutarch's Lives. But it's interesting because one of the things that Plutarch actually does in his Parallel Lives, and the reason it's called Parallel Lives, is he actually takes a famous Greek and a famous Roman, or sometimes a famous Greek and a famous Greek, and he compares their lives, right, and sort of draws the parallels between Lycurgus and Numa, for instance, right, or Numa, I think. So yeah, it's an interesting piece of work, and if you're interested in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and you want to learn more about their societies and how they came to be, then Plutarch's Parallel Lives is a great place to start. And a lot of the stuff that we think we know, or that we know about Sparta, comes from Plutarch's description of Spartan life and the life of Lycurgus, which is what I've asked you guys to read for this week. So, and I didn't, scan a copy of it. All I did was, if you go into the readings folder under the files folder, you'll see that I posted a hyperlink. You go into the document; it has a hyperlink in it, and it'll take you to a website. And the reading is pretty long this week. But mainly what I want you guys to focus on is the laws, right? The laws that Lycurgus is actually putting into place in Sparta. I mean, the stuff about Spartan society is very interesting, and I think it's important, especially thinking about the way that the laws were crafted to sort of promote a certain type of society. But when he starts getting into, education, stuff like that, I think you should, read it, but you don't have to read it, as thoroughly as you're reading the stuff about the laws that Lycurgus put into place and why he put them into place and things like that. So I want you guys to think about when you're reading this. I want you to think about, it's this question of what should the role of government be, right? And what kind of society do we want to put into place, right? Because the type of society that Lycurgus puts into place is quite a bit different than ours, right? Some people might even call it, communist or socialist or even fascist, right? But yet we look upon the society, with some degree of admiration. Think about what kind of society Lycurgus was trying to set up. Why was he trying to set up that particular society? One thing that's important to remember is that the Spartans were in charge of a very large number of slaves called helots, right? And the slaves far outnumber the Spartans. So it's important to remember that when you're reading this and thinking about the kind of culture that the Spartans are putting into place, and even this discussion that Plutarch has towards the end, where he's talking about the special service or the secret service that the Spartans performed, which is kind of abominable in a way, right? But maybe it's a reality for that time and for the situation that they were in. Anyway, I think you really enjoy it. If you're curious about Sparta and 300 and things like that, this will give you some insight into that movie, and it even talks about Leonidas in the story, and how they got to where they were and why they ended up where they were. And then I want you to think about the way that their sort of view of what society should be compares to the view that we have. So essentially that's it for this week. There's no quiz this week. I saw that you guys submitted quiz 1. So yeah, just do the reading. Focus primarily on the laws parts. You can skim over some of the cultural stuff if you want, but it's interesting. And I'll post the discussion tomorrow, and then I'll be commenting on the discussion boards